Boats. Truly the airplane of the water world. Some are big, some are small. On some rare occasions, they can even be red. But even after all these great leaps in technological advancements, scientists are still baffled by this one unanswered question. If boats big and made of metal, how come boats float so good? I don't trust boats. I don't trust them at all. You're telling me a 180-ton thing made of metal doesn't sink like a stone once you put it in water? I'll believe in the hollow earth theory before I believe in that bullshit. And yet, for some reason, people get on boats. All the time, they get on boats. For vacations, mostly. They enjoy the food and the booze, even though they could do all those things on land. All cruises vary in terms of quality. Some are much fancier than others, although I believe if you polish a turd too much, you'll get skid marks in your palms. On the trashy side of the spectrum, we have something like Carnival cruises that are full of alcoholic parents with their dip kids that they hope fall overboard in the middle of the cruise so they can go back to a carefree life. And then on the fancy end of the spectrum, we have the main focus of today's video, which is the Regent 7 Seas cruise line. But Tucker, what makes a 7 Seas cruise any fancier than any other big boat on the ocean? Well, I'll tell you, and it's exactly as stupid as you'd think. Question, do you want to take part in one of the lowest quality forms of vacation while also distancing yourself from the lowest quality form of human being? Well, I have some great news. The 7 Seas cruise line offers you everything you want and more so you can see the world without ever laying your eyes on a pore. Picture it in your head, just you and 750 other Bohemian Grove members floating out on the open water, bellies full of champagne and lobster, mind full of the overwhelming guilt of your mere existence because you shouldn't have that much money that you stifle down with even more lobster and champagne. But how does the 7 Seas cruise line cater to the ultra wealthy? Well, I'll tell you, it's by shoving a bunch of fancy shit into the boat. That's pretty much it. So let me just give you a quick breakdown on how stupid this is. The 7 Seas offers a fleet of luxury ships, including the Navigator, the Mariner, the Voyager, the Explorer, the Splendor, and the Grandeur. I think they missed a huge opportunity by not naming some of these boats the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, but I guess whoever was naming these boats was a Star Trek fan. I don't know. And on these boats, they offer tons of activities and attractions that only the ultra wealthy would consider activities and attractions. I mean, basically, at the end of the day, a 7 Seas cruise is just the world's most sinkable art museum. On the ship called Grandeur, or as I like to call it, the illusion of grandeur, cook their asses, there's a 1,600-piece art exhibit, and it includes a lot of real Picassos. Why put world-renowned art into a public museum where the poors can burp their diet sodas up all over it and get their sticky little fingerprints on it, when you can just cram that art into an Eyes Wide Shut boat? The answer is obvious. Also on that boat is a very famous Fabergé egg. For you broke folks who don't know what the f that is, a Fabergé egg is a fancy egg. Pretty much. I'm not going to go into the history of Fabergé eggs because it's stupid and it makes me angry, but just know they have one if that's a deciding factor in you booking a trip. Passengers also dine under chandeliers and crystal-encrusted trees while eating off of gold Versace plates. I bet you didn't even know Versace made plates. Look at what you're wearing. Of course you don't. On the ship the Explorer alone, there are over 158 chandeliers on board. Chandeliers being the only lighting fixture that will notably kill you if it falls from the ceiling, so let's hope for smooth sailing, huh? And on a 14-day cruise, the ship will offer over 2,000 pounds of lobster. And I know you're thinking, Tucker, wouldn't you get tired of lobster? That's poor thinking. You're thinking like a poor. And let's not forget about the butlers, unless it's time for their Christmas bonuses. A good amount of rooms that you book on a 7 Seas cruise comes with a butler. I think they live on the ship. I don't think they can leave. Now, what would you do with a butler on a ship that the whole point is to walk around and experience things for yourself? I have no goddamn clue. But you'll have a butler, and that's 90% of the appeal of having a butler. You could probably just tell him to lay down in the bed for you all day and keep it warm for you, but you won't because that would be slacking. Oh, and that bed, it is worth $200,000. The mattress is that expensive. So maybe don't let that poor grubby touch those linens. Or you can, it's up to you. The mattress is apparently full of horsetail hair, which is braided by hand and then unwound, which is somehow not a poverty solution to bedding. It's actually a very fancy way to do it. The hairs act like tiny springs that are supposed to make you feel like you're floating while you're in the bed. Something that would immediately remind me of the ship going down, and it's like that one scene in Titanic, but for others, it's just a fancy thing. So you put all those activities and amenities together, and you get the 7 Seas cruise, the biggest fuck you floating on the water. But why would you put so much money into a 7 Seas cruise when historically, cruises have fucked up catastrophically, often. Why would anyone get on a cruise when you know just how bad things can get when you get on a cruise? And there are a lot of bad things that can happen on a cruise. Oh, you want to know? You want to know all the bad things that happen on a cruise? Well, I'll tell you right after this ad. Oh, we don't have an ad this week? No ad? Not getting paid? Okay. Maybe do your fucking jobs. Anyway, on to the next segment. Fun fact, every year the cruise line industry rakes in $20 billion, which is so disappointing to me I can't verbalize how I feel. We're just throwing money at these ships, and what do they do in return? They fuck up. In extraordinary ways, they shit the bed. I mean, it's not like they always sink. That would be crazy. No, they just do that once every 5 years. Every 5 years, one cruise ship sinks. So, you know, it's really just buying a lottery ticket. But don't worry, the majority of deaths that happen on a cruise have nothing to do with the ship going down in its entirety. Actually, since 2000, more than the 600 plus cruise ship fatalities have come from people falling overboard, murder, or suicide. Super normal family vacation activities. I'm just gonna break down all the ways cruise ships have fucked people over physically and historically, and maybe you'll get the point I'm trying to make here. I mean, up first we have the Titanic. I don't really need to go into this. I mean, that's like the poster child of bad cruises, but it's still something worth talking about. It's funny they called the Titanic unsinkable, because it literally did one thing. It sunk. A lot of people don't know the exact number. 1,500 people died in one night, which is crazy, but also 1.5 million pieces of mail were lost, which is, you know, a pretty big tragedy. And apparently 4 pieces of that mail were just crates of opium. I guess that was still kicking around at that time. So, you know, if you need opium, it's at the bottom of the ocean. But let's say you do your best not to die the way of the water. Well, your personal health is still in jeopardy when you go on a cruise. For instance, statistically, you're gonna get, for lack of a better term, fat on a cruise. You're gonna get porky. It's a well-known phenomenon where people get a bit rotund when they get on a cruise, to the point where if you type in cruise weight when you're trying to look up the weight of a ship, they're just gonna give you facts about people getting fat, which is not what I was looking for. Surveys reveal that passengers can gain up to a pound a day, which is pretty crazy. It might have something to do with the fact that cruise ships often go through over 7,000 pounds of cheese, 10,000 hot dogs, and 20,000 ice cream cones a week, which, as someone who enjoys shitty food, makes my mouth water a little bit. And yes, a lot of cruises offer a gym on deck, but who's using that? Who's using a cruise gym? You're a psychopath. And this lack of exercise, as well as shitty food, lead to 200 people dying on cruises a year. This ain't by sinking, it's by the good old American way of heart attack, cardiac arrest. And because this is a very common way to kick the bait bucket when you're on a cruise, a lot of cruises have a morgue on board. The Disney cruise has a Disney morgue. And let's say more than like 2 people die, like 3 people die, well, they don't have, the morgues are tiny, so they're gonna just use the walk-in freezer in the kitchen. So enjoy that cheesecake, because Martha from New England is rotting next to it. And also, if someone dies on the first day of a 14-day cruise, they don't just turn the ship around. You just gotta deal with that body for 13 days. Just imagine your dad dying on a cruise with you and you gotta wait 13 days and watch people go down a water slide while you're in grief. But it's not just heart attacks. There's a whole list of things that can go wrong historically on a cruise ship. And for example, in 2019, the Viking Sky lost power during a storm off the coast of Norway. And without power, the captain couldn't steer the ship correctly, so they got really close to just crashing into the rocky coast of Norway. Which is just horrifying to me, because like in a plane when you crash, you get like 2 minutes and then you're dead. But like if you're on a cruise ship, you just watch rocks get closer and bigger, and you just all hold hands and pray, I guess. But luckily, all 1,374 passengers were evacuated from the ship by helicopter, but that also sucks, because helicopters can only take like 10 people at a time, so you're waiting in a buffet line to be saved. An official report says that the power failure was due to insufficient lubricating oil. That's something I feel like you should be on top of. But if you wanted to ride the Viking Sky, don't worry, they put it back out in the water. They were like, well, the catastrophic failure is not gonna happen twice. The odds go down, I'm pretty sure, after the first one. How about in 2013? There was an engine fire in the Carnival Triumph engine room, which caused the ship to lose power, and the ship got stranded. And while waiting for tugboats to show up to shore, something went wrong with the poop tube. Raw sewage began to back up into the passenger's deck. Straight up poopy. Poopy and piss. The passengers compared the ship to a porta potty that would fill up with poop every time the ship tilted a little bit. And if you don't know anything about ships on water, their natural state is tilted. Everyone on board was forced to piss in sinks and shit in bags. And if you're, knee deep in someone else's feces, you do the right thing. Poop in a bag. It was the 4th engine fire on a Carnival cruise since 1999, but I'm sure that was the last one. Probably not gonna happen again. Oh, and there's pirates. Let's not forget about them. In 2005, the Seabourn Spirit was attacked by Somali pirates. 2 pirate boats were surrounding the ship, and they just started launching RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades, at the hull of the ship. The ship was hit several times, but only suffered cosmetic damage, which, shout out to the engineers. If your ship can take a rocket, that's good for you. And the captain escaped by driving really fast, which was a good move. They also launched sound cannons at the pirates, which is like something that puts a bunch of sound into a very focused area and blows out your eardrums. But it's just so crazy to me that, like, 1, you're picking a vacation that pirates can show up to, which is bad. And 2, it happens so often. It's such an often event that they have riot gear on the ship just in case. That just seems like a bad idea. Just why are you getting on cruises? If your idea of a vacation is what killed hundreds of pilgrims while they tried to get to America, then you have a bad idea of vacation. Anyone who uses this for a vacation is stupid. Good God. But specifically, the 7 Seas sucks. That's the point of this video. Let me talk about the 7 Seas real quick. So the Seven Seas sells luxury, and as we all know, luxury means wasting generational wealth. The cruise can cost upwards of $10,000 a person, with some of the most expensive suites coming in at over $300,000. Literally a house in Normal, Illinois, you're paying to go on a week vacation. When you break it down, these cruises, even on the low end, can cost $1,000 a day, and some of these cruises last a month. But I just don't understand who is the target demographic for this. I don't understand who is signing up for these things. The crossover between people who enjoy cruises and the people who have $300,000 to blow on any given day, not a lot of overlap. Cruises generally attract three main demographics: newlyweds, old people, and people who like to get hammered. Newlyweds might have a honeymoon fund, but on average, that's only $5,000. And they're gonna spend that on like a once-in-a-lifetime romantic trip, like Paris or Rome. So they don't have the money to do this, so they're out, absolutely. Then we have the elderly. They love cruises. Elderly people love cruises. I mean, if you think about it, cruises are pretty much just elevated retirement homes. They got planned activities, they have shuffleboard, often they have pudding. Old people love pudding. But the average household retirement income of the United States is only $27,000. So unless you want to spend most of your yearly income on a 14-day glorified lobster fest, you're out. You're not gonna do that. And then we have the booze hounds, who still think that Jersey Shore is still a relevant cultural touchstone. And these people do not have the type of money to journey along on the Seven Seas, I would say. These people are more likely to join a booze cruise, which is a shorter, more alcohol-focused type of cruise. I did the math, and if you are an alcoholic who wants to get your bang for a buck on a Seven Seas cruise, you as a person, not as a group, you as a person have to drink 1,000 bottles of champagne a day for it to work out. So, yeah, maybe a Midwest redneck could get that done, but even then, it's gonna be a task. And what you get for the money you pay on one of these things isn't worth it in the first place. I mean, yes, they have all the fancy art and corny chandeliers I mentioned earlier, but what comes after that? I'm gonna break it down. Seven Seas cruises are all-inclusive, thank God. They'll pay for your airfare to get to the cruise, which I guess is nice. They'll pay for you to go wherever you need to go to get on the boat, but, you know, I feel like you could save money by booking that flight yourself, not paying the $300,000. And everything you do on the ship is free. Food, drink, Wi-Fi, laundry service, room service, you know, kind of like most cruises that aren't a doctor's salary. They even hand you a glass of champagne when you get on board, which isn't that fancy. I think they do that at the Hilton. At the very least, they do it at Sandals resorts. And it also includes shore excursions, which is like when they pull off to on like a pretty island and then you go snorkeling. But every cruise does that. Every single cruise does that. They also have things on the boat that aren't included in the all-inclusive things, like the spa. You spent $300,000 to be on this boat, and you don't even get a free massage. You have to book it, and it's like $600. In order to make a Seven Seas cruise worth it, you would have to get blackout drunk every single day, eat all the food at the buffet you can, and then make yourself throw up, and then eat the same amount of food again, and swim with the dolphins every chance you get in order to even come close to breaking even on this dumbass adventure. And you want to know the actual worst part of the Seven Seas? Do you want to know the little secret that no one tells you about that I actually had to do some digging for? This is actually like a little bit of investigative reporting that we did here. It's the mail. The mail that they send you is apparently a huge fucking issue. I went to the reviews because I wanted, you know, to find funny things that people said, like, oh, this sucked, or oh, I spent too much money. No one was saying that weirdly, but instead I found hundreds of reviews of people begging for Regent to stop sending them spam mail. Like, people's mailboxes are literally bursting at the seams because Regent just won't stop sending them promotional material. I went on an Alaskan cruise as a guest 2 years ago, and now I receive 6 brochures a week in the mail from Regent. No exaggeration. 3 for me and 3 for my wife. They refuse or deny any attempt to stop from the mailings. I felt like cattle on the ship, and now I get reminded every other day of the level of respect Regent has for me. Holy shit. David M says 1 star. The cruise was fine. That's what you want to hear when you spend that much money. But since I went on the cruise, this company has been filling my snail mailbox almost daily with an absurd amount of promotional material. I never signed up for this, and I have called, emailed, and visited sites to attempt to unsubscribe. More specifically, Regina Williams from American Express Travel was the agent who helped us with this cruise, and her name is on each promotional flyer catalog. She does not respond to emails, and when I finally got her on the phone, she acted like it wasn't her responsibility. The world has a trash problem, and this needs to stop. I'm sitting on hold while I type this just to be removed from the mailing list from the previous occupant of the home I just bought. It's not even the person. They didn't even have the ability to go on the cruise. They're just getting the shitty mail. I get a brochure every week from Regent. Be prepared to be continually spammed by them after your cruise. It takes a good 6 minutes for the customer service line to pick up. Do you know how mad you have to be on a customer service line and also be writing a Yelp review? It's just crazy to get mail from somebody every single day. Like, what do you think you're accomplishing with that? If you want someone's business, send a letter a month. Maybe. Like, every day is just gonna make someone think you're an insane person. In conclusion, Cruises are stupid and dumb and stupid and dumb. And the Seven Seas is somehow a worse yet more expensive version of that dumb cruise lifestyle. So all that being said, if you want to go on a Seven Seas cruise, I suggest saving your money and giving it to me. I don't have a Patreon set up yet, but if you're in Brooklyn, just keep it in an envelope. You'll see me walking around. I'm moving. That's why I didn't make a video last week, and that's why I might be a little scatterbrained for the next couple days. New videos every Saturday and Wednesday. Thank you for watching. Don't go on a cruise. You're a fucking idiot.